for the beginning welder, we need to talk about striking the arc. First off, with these rods, they don't stick very often to the metal when you're striking your arc. That's a good thing. We don't want the rod to start arcing and then the rod to stick to the metal, because then it's kind of exciting. If it does stick, you can wobble the rod back and forth like this. It should break it loose. If it doesn't, reach over, turn the machine off, grab your pliers, and just wobble this back and forth until it breaks off. Okay? The trick to striking an arc with these is to lean it way over and just gently drag it across like that. Drag and it starts arcing. If you leave it touching, it will stick. So drag, starts arcing, you pick it up just a little bit, keep it arcing. It should still be sparking. We're going to use it kind of like a flashlight. Your helmet is going to get very, very dark, except right here, because we're protecting our eyes from that very bright light. Keep it arcing, so you got to keep it fairly close. You're going to come back to the start. You're going to stand your rod straight up and down. Stay there for just a second. You're watching the metal here. You're looking at a liquid puddle of metal. You want to watch that puddle until it gets about the size of your fingernail. So you're going to stay right there until you've got a puddle. Then you're going to tip the rod just a little bit in the direction you're going. So if I was going this way, you see how I'm tipped just a little bit. And then I start moving very, very slowly. Okay, this is actually way faster than I would normally move if I was actually welding. All right? What the trick is to watch the puddle, and if you move too fast, the puddle starts to shrink and get smaller. If you go too slow, the puddle gets really, really big and you melt a hole in the metal. We don't want either one of those. So, electrode angle, that's the first thing we set. And then we start worrying about travel speed. But while that is all happening, you got to remember this electrode is melting. It's getting shorter and shorter and shorter. So you have to get closer and closer and closer because it's getting shorter and shorter and shorter. However thick your rod is, so our rod is that thick, we should be that far off of the metal. So that's very close. Most common mistakes I see beginning welders make is they're up too high, or they're moving too fast. If you're short, then it's hard to hold this up, so we kind of tend to weld like this. We might be straight this way, but because we're short, we've got it leaned down. Okay? So correct electrode arc length, how far off the metal you are, electrode angle, and travel speed. Okay? The other thing that's very important is just relax. Let your arms relax. If you're really tense, every time you breathe, if you watch the tip of my rod, if I'm all tensed up, it moves. So just relax your arms. If you want to rest this hand on this arm, that gives you a little bit of it. You can use more of your body to move instead of having your lone arm sticking way out there. All right? So let's put our gear on, get our gloves on, and see how this works. So first thing I need to do, since I haven't done it yet, is turn the fan on. The fan is in the far corner of the welding booth over here by the roll-up door. The black button turns it on, red to turn it off at the end of class. Alright, so we're ready to weld. I've got an electrode in there. I've lifted it up so it's not touching any metal. I'm going to flip the machine on. And before I actually start welding, if I touch this to any metal, it's going to spark. And this bright spark can hurt people's eyes. So before I start welding, I just say cover. When I say cover, that means everybody else that hears me should know to look away or put their hood down. Even the reflections off of the white walls in here can hurt your eyes, so make sure you're not looking at any of the bright, flashy, pretty lights. So, cover. Alright, to strike the arc, again we tip our rod way over and we just scrape it. When it starts sparking, that's all we have to do. It's not like a match where you flick it. We don't have to do that. It's too hard to keep it going. Strike it, keep it going, come back, stand it up, establish your puddle. So, strike my arc, pick it up, come back, stand it straight up and down, straight up and down, watch my puddle, tip my rod and start moving. Again, watching the puddle. Start going too fast, we get too small. You get up too high, it just kind of spits. It really doesn't do anything. If you get down too low, it gets very cold. When you get to the end, whatever you're doing, just lift it up to stop and turn the machine off. Alright, machine is off. Let's take a look at our piece of metal. So our metal is very hot. It was just glowing. We're going to pick this up with our pliers. We're going to bring it over to this booth over here, and we're going to stick it in this water. We're going to let that cool off for just a minute. And when it's nice and cool, we let her drip off in there, set her down. Now, a word on this water. Do not dump this bucket out in the sink. In the bottom of this water, it has all kinds of gunk. And if you dump it in the sink, it will plug it up. So we're going to, you can refill it though, fill her close to the top, but do not dump that out. So when we weld, we get a coating over top of our weld that's called slag. And if you do it just right, that coating will actually peel itself off. So the reason you wear your safety glasses at all times is we're going to use our chipping hammer and we're going to chip that off. And you can see it kind of starting to flake off. Over here it doesn't work so good. This is where we were up too high, and then we were down too low over at that end. One of them does have a wire brush. You can use that to clean the weld off. Hard to do one-handed while I'm holding the camera, but what we're looking for, maybe, is that nice, wide weld. When we start welding, it is usually a little cold, so it's bumped up, but right about here, from there to there, looks really good. That ripple pattern, it's kind of sunk in. If we get a lot of this bird poop, this spatter, usually that means we're up too high. Alright, so we've cooled it off, we've cleaned it. You're going to bring this out and show it to me. We're going to just keep stacking welds, and I'll show you what I mean by stacking welds here in a second. But as you can see, we've got the cleanup booth and the welding booth. We can have several people kind of cycling through here. One person's welding while the person that just welded is over here cleaning theirs off, and maybe one more person waiting in line to weld. Okay? Be aware of cords. We don't want the cords underneath where they can get spatter on them and melted. And really, that I think about covers it. The last thing I just wanted to show you real fast, I mentioned we're overlapping welds. Here, this is not pretty. I'm really not very proud of this, but this is back when I was teaching myself how to weld aluminum with a TIG welder. And I was just running beads over and over and over and over. So you can see how thick that piece of metal was. And I mean, there's hundreds of beads on that piece of metal when I was trying to learn how to TIG weld. I did get a little better at it, to the point where I got some pretty welds. What we're going to be doing, this is a piece of angle iron, and we're hoping you can layer your welds just like that, over and over and over, just on a flat piece for now. It'll take some practice. This is a skill. Don't get frustrated. It takes some time. And eventually, if we can get our beads real nice, then we'll start trying some different weld joints. A butt joint, where we just butt two pieces up together. A lap joint, where we've got two overlapping, and then this guy right here, the T-joint. All right, so let's see what you can do.